Ruby's loved ones and community are left grieving for this incredible young woman, remembering what they called her. They said she had just this most contagious laughter, and when she walked into a room, she lit up that room. And I've heard that from so many people. I spoke to some of her family.
And that would be an okay thing to say if it were in any way true. According to Ruby's sister, Donald Trump never spoke to anyone in her family. And in fact, I had a hunch, so I looked it up because I know the only paper he reads is the New York Post. Seems pretty clear he lifted that moving anecdote from the Post. Her sister said, she will be remembered as being full of life and laughter. Those who were around her would know she was silly, made everyone laugh. She'd brighten up the room with her beautiful smile and laugh.
Most contagious laughter, and when she walked into a room, she lit up that room. And I've heard that from so many people. I spoke to some of her family.
He did not speak with any of us, so it was kind of shocking saying that he had said that he had spoke with us and saying, misinforming people, live TV.
There's only three possible explanations for this. A, Donald Trump is a bottomless scumbag who would lie about anything to make himself look like a hero. B, you got to hear the wall first. His brain has turned to oatmeal so lumpy he can't distinguish a story he flipped by in the Post from a conversation he had with a grieving loved one, or C, both of the above, which is probably it.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
If there's one thing that grinds Donnie's gears more than an eclipse that he can't stare directly at,
wait a damn minute. Wait a damn minute.
it is a celebrity speaking out against him. You know, the same people lambasted as out-of-touch elites by the MAGA contingent as they purchase a $60 Bible.
All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book.
From a reality TV star billionaire, or so he says.
I don't need to borrow money. I have a lot of money. I built a great company.
Well, the ding-dong between Trump and Jimmy Kimmel has only continued since Kimmel humiliated him at the Oscars.
You posted, has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? Less than an average person trying too hard. And he then read that on the air and then took a crack at you. You getting even with him.
And what else did I say? I said some other pretty good things.
What were you getting even with him for all his anti-Trump jokes?
George Slobodanopoulos. Right? No, look, Jimmy Kimmel is every night, he hits me, I guess. His ratings are terrible. He's not a talented guy. I hear he hits me all the time, so I figured I'd hit him because I thought he was a lousy host. Now, I put it out on Truth, which is on fire, by the way. Truth Social is doing great. I never expected he was going to be reading it. Just prior to the movie of the year, which is the big one, right? That's the big one. I think they get the man, the woman, now the movie of the year. He reads my Truth on air. He reads exactly what you read. And now the big story is that they all begged him not to do it, don't do it. Right. He probably stupidly, you know, he had to act in a short period of time, like minutes, right? He had minutes because he's on air. He sees this thing, and he wants to go out there and he wants to, I guess, confront me in a so. And he ends up reading my Truth. I said, this guy's even dumber than I thought. The thing went viral. It's been all over the world now. And all he had to do is keep his mouth shut.
And okay, while the pendulum of pettiness isn't exactly going to win over swing state voters, it does indicate exactly where Trump's priorities are, and always have been, with himself. And Kimmel does a good job of avoiding the hyperbole and instead uses Trump's abhorrent behavior and words to speak for him. Like, say, claiming to have spoken with the family of Ruby Garcia, a 25-year-old who was murdered, when, of course, it wasn't true that he spoke with them at all.
Somehow, in the middle of all these prosecutions, Trump has been on the road doing rallies where, you know, when you think back on all the presidents, there are so many great lines throughout history like, yes, we can, and tear down that wall, the buck stops here. And this new slogan from Trump, stop Biden's border bloodbath. Trump has been very shamelessly trying to exploit the murder of a young woman in Michigan who was allegedly killed by a man she was dating who also happened to enter the country illegally. This is the kind of story he loves because it furthers the false narrative that immigrants commit more crimes here than Americans do.
But there's no evidence of a bloodbath for Americans living there. Of course, Trump is also arguing that the border is causing a crime wave across the country. But in fact, violent crime rates are at modern lows on average and down in many cities. And multiple studies show that migrants are actually less likely to commit crime than others here. Even so, Trump is trying to cement the idea that migrants are the enemy.
In his speech yesterday, Trump claimed he spoke with Ruby Garcia's family after her death.
They said she had just this most contagious laughter, and when she walked into a room, she lit up that room. And I've heard that from so many people. I spoke to some of her family.
13 on Your Side spoke with Mavi Garcia, the Garcia family spokesperson. She says the former president never reached out to anyone in her family. The Garcia family is now asking for peace to grieve privately during this difficult time.
He did not speak with any of us, so it was kind of shocking seeing that he had said that he had spoke with us.
They said she had just this most contagious laughter, and when she walked into a room, she lit up that room. And I've heard that from so many people. I spoke to some of her family.
Yeah, no, you didn't. You did not. Well, you know, the guy can't meet every grieving family he claims he met with. If he did that, how would he win 2 fake golf tournaments in one weekend? It's impossible.
And the thing is, while Trump doesn't care that this is in fact false and reprehensible, should I add, hence why he hasn't apologized, he will care, however, that Jimmy Kimmel has called him out on it. Because a malignant narcissist with an inferiority complex is more concerned with how people in the public eye are talking about him as opposed to, I don't know, using the grief-stricken family of a young girl to score political threes. But he knows no bounds in his quest to demonize migrants, no matter how factually inaccurate it actually is. But if recent Fox News polls, of all the polls by the way, are anything to go by, it seems that the tide is turning on how convincing he really is on this matter.
Here is the latest Fox News poll. Blame the following a great deal or some for the situation on the border. And you've got Congress's lack of action at 82% and Biden's lack of enforcement at 74%. You're in Congress, you hear what the pushback is always. You know, it's the Republicans' fault, they say. They listened to Donald Trump and they sat on their hands and didn't pass the Senate legislation that would have made things safer.
But, you know, the bigger point here is we're discussing immigration, which is a hot political issue, according to the polls, is that if, you know, former President Trump really cared about this issue, why did he block legislation that would have provided more border agents, more asylum judges, allowed the president the power to shut down the border when there was chaos or a surge? That's what, you know, was there on a bipartisan basis and was stopped.
Let me ask you a question.
That's right. Even on the very network that has offered endless oxygen to his fear-mongering and lies, viewers tuning into Fox News believe that Congress inaction on the border is more of a reason it's an issue than President Biden. And no amount of demonizing migrants or pretending to speak with grieving family members will negate the fact that Trump and his cronies had the opportunity to try and implement legislation to combat the issue they claim to care so deeply about, but instead chose politics.
On the issues, where do you guys disagree? I looked at the abortion case. I mean, you favor, allow the states to determine this?
Yes, sir.
I think Donald Trump's on the same page with you on that. You want to be tough on China. He was tough on China. He
wasn't near. Let's stop there.
You would change rules on Social Security so that the wealthy would not receive Social Security checks. So maybe there's a distinction there. But if you're on stage with him on August 23rd, right, you have an opportunity in front of millions of American people to say, here is how I will be different.
He's a failed leader. We gave him a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and he failed. He failed us, Bill. And he failed us by losing the House, by losing the Senate, and by turning over the White House to Joe Biden and the most liberal administration and an effective administration since Jimmy Carter. Is that the type of leadership we want? Or do we want someone who is governed in a blue state, showing that you can win independent voters, got 61% of the vote for re-election in a state like New Jersey as a Republican, and worked with a Democratic legislature to get pension reform, to fire the Camden City Police Department, leading to a 75% reduction in the murder rate, and gave more educational choice than in any blue state in the country, more charter schools and choice in the city of Newark, and did that with a Democratic legislature? Is that what we need in Washington? Or do we need Donald Trump whining, moaning, and making everything about him? He doesn't care about the American people, Bill. He's putting himself first. And if you watched that speech yesterday at Bedminster, where's he talking about America and the American people and their concerns and their needs? This next administration, if Donald Trump's president, will be all about retribution for him personally. Is that the show we want to watch? Is that the rerun of The Apprentice we want? It's not what I want.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
Please come back. About 10 weeks to the debate.
Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to it.
Great to have you here. Thank you so much.
See you there. Thanks.
Got it.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.